Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me tonight are Useless.
Hello, how goes it?
Donkey.
Good evening, everyone.
Adam.
Hello.
JenTMaxi.
Hello.
Traveling Exhibit, JackGunski.
Howdy.
And as the new schedule is live, I can now say, and of course I'm your keeper for the night, Sanguine. How are all of you doing?
Alive and kicking.
Better than
I'm pissed at Teresa Tam.
Smoking.
I'm guessing that's one of your provisional leaders or one of your national leaders.
It's our Fauci.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still torn on whether or not she's trans because I the first time I saw her, I was like, "Is that an Adam's apple? Are they really pushing this on me?" Do better, China. Do better. Come on.
And in all honesty, after a week, I stopped listening to her completely.
Well, it's my explanation to Jack is to really look at the mask that people are really using and understand that there's actually a difference in the mask. And this is why I've always kind of questioned what they were pushing, because everybody that I know who's freaking out about masks are wearing cloth ones. Some of them are even making cloth ones themselves and using those. And I'm like, it really just takes a person to hold up an N95 and a cloth mask to notice that the threads on an N95, they're there to catch droplets. Like, that's actually how they're designed. That's why they work. But a cloth mask can do only half of that. Not even. Yeah. And that's what I mean about like wetting the cloth before tying it to your face. Because it actually adds more layer to it because the water does. It also makes you choke more, but you know.
Like I said, though, when it comes down to it, and this is going to be the last thing that we say on this just so that we don't get bopped. Mm-hmm. With every other droplet precaution disease, N95s are the minimum style of mask that you use. Tuberculosis, N95, no lower. I'm just going to leave that, and we'll go on to something else now.
Yay! Canada won gold. Sorry, I'm still happy. I'm happy for those girls. Like they were really happy. So
our most recent gold medal.
Yes. Also, congrats to Sweden too. Like I know you didn't win the gold, but you know, good sportsmanship is appreciating the people that join you on the field and not talking shit about them. Like certain purple-haired bitches.
Oh, poor Grimace.
I know.
What did we lose? Oh, Donkey.
He'll be back.
Maybe.
Maybe. All right,
Perhaps.
Donkey. In the time that you were gone, you need to go run to Trudeau's house, kick him in the balls, and then come back and tell us about it.
The ass is back.
Oh, well, that was fast.
So, when it comes to what's been going on in the Olympics, I've only been half listening to certain things, but it is somewhat what the fuck is going on with our teams, and I'm hearing audio bleed from someone. I just stopped hearing audio. Okay. So, when our basketball team loses to France, what the fuck is going on, U.S. teams? And then, I'm not overly surprised about the female soccer team losing to Canada, and I think they lost to a couple other people, didn't they?
I feel like that's a comeback from Pepe Le Pew, just low-key, and it's amazing.
I also like how an American is talking about their losing streak, despite the fact that they have the most medals overall and boasted the largest contingent, doubling the average, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So it's okay for us to bash on one team, since she's also good in other sports.
Yeah, the thing is that we take a certain element of amusement from the annoyingness of the people that have managed to lose.
I don't know, this image of Pepe Le Pew teabagging, like, the American basketball team. Maybe certain other cartoon characters too. I'm amazed by that.
Because I can honestly tell you that if the teams hadn't been so vocal about, like, the female basketball or female soccer team having a very firm stance of, you know what, fuck the majority of the people in the United States. The majority of the people in the United States probably would not enjoy seeing them lose. Since they do have that stance, everyone's going,
Yeah.
And it's kind of amazing because, like, the Americans that I really admired, like, I keep forgetting which gold she won. But the black girl who was hugging the flag, the American flag, and she was just so happy to be there. She was so happy to represent her country, and she was so amazing. Like, she was the kind of girl that if I was a little kid, I would see her as a hero because she was
super happy.
She was
Wasn't she a
super
wrestler?
happy, and that's the thing. She
Yeah.
was exuding that happiness, and other people could feel that happiness. And these people who are so woke, all that I feel from them is just misery and anger and bitterness, and they just want to attack everyone. And they brought that to the Olympics. You guys suck. I'm glad you lost. I'm sorry for the Americans who shouldn't have to be dragged in with you, but I'm glad that those teams lost because, as far as I'm concerned, you were sore losers.
I've heard very few people upset that they lost. Like Green Badger Outdoors just said, most of them seem to be experiencing schadenfreude.
Yeah, as an American, I'm like, okay, well, all the countries that don't participate are beating the shit out of us, and you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy because America is turning into a country of sore losers and spoiled sports.
And it's really amazing that these people can still do that. Be like, oh yeah, you guys are so privileged and we're so woke and all that crap. And they're saying that to the world stage with some of the poorest countries, with people who spend their whole lives for the dream just to come there, and you disrespected them with this crap.
To pivot back to a related subject to that, Fauci and the CDC want to do third doses of vaccines.
I know they do.
When the average vaccine rate for 2 doses worldwide is still under 10%.
Yeah, they've been saying that they want to turn it into a booster system effectively for a while now.
No, fuck a third shot in any G20 nation until the global average country to country is 50%.
I agree.
For 2 doses, at least.
So we can see what it's doing, at least, because it's not that I don't trust the science, but I'd like to see. I do, but at the same time, though, I'd like to know where this leads, because as far as I know, these could just be vitamin shots for all I know, and they're just dragging us along to penny pinch us.
Like I've said about this before, and if I say something that any of you do not understand, let me fucking know so that I can then clarify. Because there's a chance that I will say things that people don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. When it comes to mRNA shots have a programmed life of the material that is injected. So there's, at the end of every mRNA strand, which is the strand that goes to the ribosome in order to signal, hey, make this protein, is what is known as a poly-A tail. It sounds a lot like Donkey when he gets stuck on something and starts speaking Canadian, because it is just... Exactly. It is just a shit ton of A.
O's throw it in there, you know.
How was Betty?
At the end of the mRNA sequence, after every time that it gets read by the ribosome and produces a protein in the reading, a few of those A's get cut off from the tail end, from this poly-A tail. When it no longer has a poly-A tail, that signals the body, you can get rid of this mRNA now. Which means that people saying we don't know how long this hangs around in the body. No, we actually know how long it hangs around in the body because it has a limited number of reads of this mRNA, and then it's done and dusted. It cannot do anything past that because the body immediately goes, hey, this thing's missing a poly A tail. Let's just cut it up. So that part, people that are worried that, yeah, we don't know how long the mRNA is going to linger in the body. We do know. It's not something that you need to worry about.
Just for the scientifically illiterate, after the mRNA, and I'm going to use a very blunt term, hijacks the cell to produce these proteins. How does these proteins trigger the long-term immunoresponse?
So what happens is the protein that the mRNA jab is signaling for is one of the spike proteins on the coronavirus. It doesn't include anything else of the coronavirus, just this specific spike protein.
Which simulates an attack without any actual viral cell.
Yes. So what happens is these proteins, as part of the mRNA sequence, there's this final little bit tacked onto the protein that signals this gets pumped out of the cell. So it's produced in the cell at the ribosome, then gets sent to, there's a organelle, just means a bit of cell machinery effectively, within the shell, that its entire job is it packages proteins to send them to where they're supposed to go. So if it's supposed to go out of the cell, it packages the proteins that are supposed to go out of the cell, and then it ships them out of the cell. If it is supposed to go into the nucleus, it packages them up and ships them into the nucleus. If they're just meant to hang around in the cytoplasm, the area between the cell membrane and the nucleus, it will just go, okay, yeah, fuck off into the cytoplasm and let everything go into the cytoplasm. Think of it kind of like the cell post office. So it ships things where they're supposed to go. So this spike protein is flagged to go outside of the cell. So it goes to this cell post office. The cell post office goes, okay, package this shit up, ship it out of the cell. It goes out of the cell. When it leaves the cell, it's now going into your bloodstream and shit like that. Mm-hmm. Once it goes into your bloodstream and just outside of the cell in general, gets moved to, effectively, it's always your bloodstream that it ends up getting moved to, so it can either be held elsewhere in the body. When that happens, your immune system is able to see these things, and it goes, that is not normally from us.
And it's a major thing, because I'm pretty sure they're doing the little latch thing the viral proteins actually do as well. It's
the spike protein. So the spike protein is also the connection point. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the body goes, this isn't something that should be here. And your immune system attacks it. When your immune system attacks it, you have antibodies. Everyone familiar with the term antibodies? No one should be unfamiliar with it.
I watched the Kurt Skazart video on how the immune system works.
So,
excuse me, I watch Magic School Bus. I think I know a thing or two.
I would recommend taking that knowledge and going to the Kurt Skazart video.
Certain elements of your immune system launch antibodies at this spike protein, and in the process of launching antibodies, it kind of shifts the antibodies a little bit, and then it figures out which one gloms on the best. And once it is able to destroy the spike protein, the ones that glommed on the best are then kind of recorded and reported to all of the other cells that launch these antibodies, so that
put into specific memory T cells.
Yep.
Is that a scientific term, glom?
Glom, it's a fantastic term. Everyone should use it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Just means to grab onto. So, yeah, it goes into memory T cells to give the actual technical name for it. I'm trying to avoid technical names for as much as I can in this explanation. But it goes to the memory T cell, which is a cell that stores the memory of, hey, this antibody worked against this. So the next time that it experiences these spike proteins,
it knows precisely the weapon to use.
Yeah, the memory T cells go, we've seen this before, use this one, and they use that when it gloms on, they're able to destroy it. That's how it causes immune reaction over time. That's how it gives you that immunity, or at the very least, resistance, depending on how good the antibodies are and how consistent the antibodies are. So that's the process for the mRNA. And the people that say, oh, it rewrites DNA. No, it doesn't.
It just hijacks the cell to build spike proteins for it.
It requires an entirely different sequence in order for it to be able to invade the nucleus. This lacks the nucleus invading sequence. The nucleus is where your DNA is kept within the cell. It lacks that ability. It cannot go in there. It just goes to the ribosome, and then the ribosome goes, mRNA, I know what to do with this. I turn it into protein and hack off some of the eggs. So that's what it does. That's how that all works. So the people that say, we don't know how long it hangs out in the body, when we're talking about mRNA, no, we actually program it effectively. That is the best way of phrasing it. We program how long it's going to hang out.
But if the mRNA enters the ribosome, then what happens to the ribo?
The ribosome. It's a ribosome. It's one word, not two words.
Sanguine. I'm joking.
To continue this conversation, and this is something I legitimately wish to know, that's how Pfizer Moderna work. The Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca are the traditional method, if I remember correctly.
They are a more traditional method. So they aren't the... There's several different gens of antibiotics, or not antibiotics.
What I mean by traditional method is it's either a dead version or an extremely weak version of the actual virus.
It's effectively segments of the actual virus, if I remember correctly. It's not an entire whole virus. It's not an entire dead virus. It is, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong because that's the one that I see fewer people complain about, so I didn't really look into the method. I just know that it's one of the more standard methods. There's other vaccinations that are currently active that use that method.
There's also two other COVID vaccinations in various states of testing that work on a third method. I forget that method entirely.
So there's, like we said, the Pfizer and Moderna, one of them uses a protein shell that then houses the mRNA, which the protein shell, everyone, do you guys, here, let me just pull up a protein shell real quick so I can...
Jamie, pull that up.
Sadly, I do not have a Jamie to pull up an image, so I'm just going to pull up one, and it's not going to be the correct type of virus that I'm pulling up. It's just going to be a virus, because I can use it to explain. Actually, I'll pull up 3 different viruses, and I'll just use it to explain. So let me open this image in a new tab.
You know that you could get a Jamie to pull that up if you had a co-host. Just
stop trying to get yourself a co-host.
No, I don't want to be a co-host. I'm shilling for Jason.
That's working.
But yeah, so these are 3 different kind of structures that some viruses can take. These aren't the only 3, but these are 3 of the fairly common structures. Let's go for the head-tail structure, because that one's the one that probably most people have seen depictions of. So you see the green bit on the outside. That is a protein coat, a protein shell, a virus coat. There's a number of different names for it that you can use. And then the red bit on the inside, that is the genetic information for the specific virus. What they've done is, and this has been used for other things before, they hollow out the protein coat, so they kind of scrape out all the virus info, the virus DNA or RNA or whatever the coding bit in the center is, because you have viral and you have DNA viruses, you have RNA viruses. So they get rid of all the information that the virus normally has in it. And then they insert the sequence that they want. So one of them uses that. Are you guys familiar with what a lipid bilayer is?
Part of its cell.
Yeah, it's what surrounds the cell, and one side of it is hydrophobic and one side of it is hydrophilic. And it comes in 2 layers.
So yes and no. The yes and no is the one side being hydrophobic, one side being hydrophilic. There's a more hydrophobic side, and there's a less hydrophobic side. Because a lipid bilayer is effectively just lipids, and lipids are naturally hydrophobic. But they stick the more hydrophobic component on the inside, so it's just surrounded by lipids, and the less hydrophobic on the outside, where it actually comes in contact with the aqueous solution that takes up most of your body. So let me do another quick screen share of that so I can show you guys a lipid bilayer. And this is just, oops, wrong one. That was the same one that I just clicked. Let me click over to the right one.
Are you having mouse problems too?
No, I just didn't read the window that I was sharing correctly.
Yeah.
So you have phospholipids. The one side is less hydrophobic, the phospho side, if you would. Then you have the standard lipid, which is lipids, oils, fats, however the fuck you want to refer to them. Very hydrophobic. So you have those 2 sides. You have the more hydrophobic sides just pointing right up against each other. So it's this sheet on top and a sheet on bottom, preventing liquid from moving through the 2 layers. Everyone understand that? It makes sense to everyone? No confusion?
I'm just going to say, if you want to like this stuff, there's a cool channel called Journey to the Microverse. There's lots of stuff.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
So the other one that doesn't use the hollowed out virus coat, it uses just a lipid bilayer. Which, since your cell membranes, a lipid bilayer, this butts into that. It goes, hey, lipid bilayer, lipid bilayer. They kind of merge together and dump everything into the cell. Then there's, like I said, the really traditional, which is just a weakened version of a virus. There's the slightly less traditional, but still fairly normal, of the dead virus. Then there's another one, which is effectively the virus has been hacked to bits and then is injected. And each of those is used. It's only the 2 mRNA ones, which are kind of new tech, but it's new tech that we know how it functions.
Hmm. I think you misunderstood my question.
And I hear music from someone.
Yeah.
Please kill the music.
Adam.
Adam?
Stoner?
Oh, God forbid something interesting almost happened.
But we can't have the channel be flagged for that crap. At least pick a good song.
Well, the good thing is that he picked something that the...
I mean, it's classic.
Classic.
But
Well, I dropped the
it's
link to
classic.
that channel. In the,
Have you ever been beaten half to death with a cello because Yo-Yo Ma is coming for your ass?
I'm not saying it's not nice music. I'm just saying if you're gonna get canceled for something better.
Well, I was thinking more, at least the original song is not still under copyright.
That might be
Just
cool,
that
actually.
version might be under copyright.
That's the problem. And there's so many things that ding you anyway because they don't know. Even they don't know.
Just to be on the safe side, pull up like a 1900s record of it, and that, because anything before, 1920, not under copyright, you're golden. Except for Mickey Mouse.
No, copyright lawyers are like that with a lot of stuff. By renewing everything and all shit and basically lining the pockets of every politician they can. We're talking about the music industry here.
I'm pretty sure that pretty much every song before that time, though, is out of copyright by...
I'm just saying it right now, and I know that you're on my side on this one, Eeyore. But if Quebec starts demanding that our music be half in French, they can go fuck themselves, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
No offense, nothing wrong with French, but don't mix the two. It's just sometimes it doesn't work. Not everybody's good at music. Yeah, I've heard some people who are good at it. I'm just saying not everybody is.
So,
And yes, it's all works first published or released before January 1st, 1926.
oh,
Have lost their copyright protection effective January 1st, 2021. The one exception is if it's an ongoing IP, which would be like Mickey Mouse and shit like that, because they're still being produced. So it's an actively maintained and repeated copyright.
makes sense.
I remembered that being the case, so I just wanted to double check when Donkey said that.
again, it's the music industry. They'll try every piece of shit in the books. I've once heard that an American music company tried to come after a guy for using something produced in China originally, that the original sound holder had the explicit permission of the original developer of that sound file, who was Belarusian, and the guy that was using the sound file was British. I heard that guy got a copyright strike over all that. He used the Chinese version of the file that he had the explicit permission for the Belarusian holder, and the strike came from the US.
Yeah, if its rights were sold, then other parties can deal with it. Like, you guys all know the Vanilla Ice and Under Pressure controversy, right?
I remember it, but I was kind of young for it. And
Hold on. Before we go on, are you guys seriously like seriously? You think the video would be flagged because I played box
Yes.
Could be.
number one?
Yeah, it's one of those
Not really
things
that
where
concerned with it. I was just
no,
going music.
I mean,
it
Let's keep
can.
it somewhat short.
Yeah, it can. It's one of those unfortunate things where YouTube is an uptight prick, and they do nothing to stop the kind of people who will flag you for 2 seconds of a song.
no,
As
no,
though
no,
you're
no, no,
actually-
no, no,
as-
no,
yeah.
no. You don't have to explain anymore.
I know. I knew a guy.
Okay.
I knew a comic
All right.
book guy. I'm just telling this story because it's so ridiculous. So this comic book guy, all he really does is he reads ASMR comic books for girls. He had this intro song that he paid a guy for, like he paid the guy for the rights to use, and he kept getting flagged. And even though he had the proof to show that he had the rights to use this song, he kept getting flagged. So he went to a guy from Peru and got him to remix the song with a Peruvian flute. And they still flagged him for the song. It doesn't sound even remotely the same. So, yeah, YouTube.
But yeah, the Vanilla Ice Under Pressure controversy. Do you guys remember that? I know Jen responded.
A little bit, yeah. I was young for it, but I do remember that.
Oh, I have even worse. Lady Gaga tried to copyright a chord progression.
Oh yeah, that was retarded. But
That's how bad the music industry is.
no,
They will go to court over a chord progression.
The hilarious thing about the Vanilla Ice issue was Vanilla Ice's solution. He bought the rights of the song entirely. He bought all ownership of the song Under Pressure. It is his most profitable investment that he's ever made. It's kind of like Michael Jackson. In order to deal with, I think it was the Beatles were coming after him for something. He bought all of the Beatles music, the rights to it.
So to put this in perspective, Vanilla Ice was basically nobody. Then he ripped off a famous song, and then he used the money he made from the song he ripped off to buy the song he ripped off. That's some next level shit right there.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
I gotta say, I would be angry if I wasn't so impressed.
And yet we will put on back in the day when this wasn't necessarily a thing, someone would just do an impression of something for a few seconds. It wasn't meant to take money away from the artist. It was just like an impression. But apparently like 10 seconds is enough to warrant someone getting paid. I'm like,
The
okay.
long and short of it is YouTube copyright bullshit when it comes to certain things is absolute horseshit.
Perpetrated by the industry in which it is.
Well, it's kind of allowed by everything.
It's the music industry. It's bad.
It's not just the music industry that does it, though.
You could have just said you didn't like the joke.
No,
we hate the music industry.
Donkey has a hard on for the music industry.
All right,
Well,
go at it, man.
all the new music these days is written by ghostwriters and whatnot.
Oh god. Well, yeah,
And-
a lot
Like
of
there's
them,
two people who write all the pop songs.
it's just-
Yeah,
Didn't they
they're-
suffer enough in life? Now we have to bring them back to write songs.
Kinda.
There are two people who write all the pop songs and two people who write all the screenplays. No wonder everything keeps getting remade. We have 4 people writing all of our culture.
Yep.
Yeah,
I wanna
it's just
fact
like
check that.
Minority Report.
Go for it.
It's just one doing it, and the other 3 are just sitting there.
Can we get a fact check for that? That very obvious.
That there's more than 2
that there's literally more than
lyricists.
2. Do you think that we actually believe that?
There probably are more than 2 dudes, but
I've seen a YouTube
the
video.
more than 2 dudes don't really seem to have more expanding ideas than the other 2 dudes,
Like I said, it's just
Jack-
the 2 dudes who do the pop songs.
Jack, have you met Donkey?
I'm just asking because I need to get a literal answer for that ridiculous question.
Donkey, Jack, Donkey. Jack, he will take anything that he can, literally. He's more spurgy than I am.
Hold on, I
Hey!
got a Wikipedia article that says that Donkey's Wikipedia article sucks.
And Jen, I'm a bit rusty on Canadian. Was that A meaning yes, that is
Wait.
correct?
Is that
Hey!
Oh, that I was agreeing with Donkey. No, I don't agree with Donkey that there's only two people who write things, but I do agree that there seems to be.
I don't know.
I feel like there's less push for the diversity of songs than anything, and maybe it's just I don't hear a lot of it lately. It's always just the same kind of genres, and it's a repeat of the same sort of lyrics. I don't know about the other genres. Like other genres don't necessarily count to the mainstreams, you know.
Well,
Can I ask you
Did
guys
you use
where
the
you
same-
listen to music?
YouTube and sometimes the radio.
There's still
Well,
radio?
Yeah.
There's the pop songs I'm talking about. They all use the same chord.
Yeah.
One chord because it sounds the same and familiar. Yeah, and it brings them makes you feel better. I mean, it's similar things.
It's actually a chord progression.
It's
Yeah.
the 4-chord song.
Yeah.
And those 4 chords have actually been used in varying levels of prominence for hundreds of years in Western music.
Well, I'm just wondering where, because, like, when I don't know. I guess I don't click on random videos on YouTube. You know, I kind of
I do.
pinpoint where I want to go. Well, sometimes I will, yeah. Like
I do that with music. I click on random music.
Not with music, no, not with music. With other type of videos, like I just stumbled upon a history or cooking random history dishes and stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, Max Miller, or is it a different one?
I think it is Max Miller. He
Mhm.
did
He's
he
great.
did the Roman burger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fava beans. One.
And he also did what was it? It was the Spartan stew.
Yeah, where it looked like black. It was like
Yeah.
just like black pudding or something like that.
It's like pan cross or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, and he said it tasted pretty good though, but it just looked. I don't remember.
Plus, he
if
has to
said it-
substitute a few things too, doesn't he?
Does he?
Say again?
Well, he has to substitute a few things too, doesn't he? Because
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
for example, in his recipe on, I believe it was Parthian chicken.
I can't remember which one it was, but the one when he had to make the ambrosia drink. I
Mhm.
think it was this. I think it was a Spartan drink too. It was supposed to make them more godly
Oh,
or something.
yeah,
And it had
yeah.
like goat cheese or something. And it curled. He was like, "This is the most nastiest thing I've ever had."
But yeah, he's had to substitute certain things. Like there's a number of different spices and herbs that
Just
are
don't exist
either
anymore.
extinct
Mhm.
or we don't know what the fuck they were.
Or they could have just changed because, like, I had this long conversation with my mom about how interesting it actually is to look up what food actually looked like before we fucked it up. Not
What do
saying
you
it's
mean
worse.
before we fucked it up?
Well, it's questionable because you don't know what it was like before. You know, like some stuff we've made better. Like the original lemon was more about the peel than it was about the juice. Like the original lemon was about the yellow part and the rind.
The original one
Well,
was
you
more
you
like
know
the
what they
citron.
you know what they say when life gives you lemons, make better lemons.
And they did. So they have lemons now that, you know, because you can still get the original citron, like they still exist. But you now have the option of both. And now you've got one that gives you more juice. And I can't help thinking, well, the rest of them must have been like that because pomelos are like that. Like pomelos are like mostly rind and they're super bitter.
What's a pomelo?
A pomelo is it's kind of bigger than a grapefruit, and they're very green. But they're basically another citrus fruit. But they're very strong. Like they're very citrusy.
Just remember, a pomelo is a lot more mild than a pimhyper.
Mhm.
A pimhyper is just all over the place.
God damn it, Jack, that was painful.
Yeah, it was. I feel like throwing.
I'm here all night, folks.
I kind of want to throw a pomelo at your head because that would actually hurt because they're kind of big. Like you're talking like double D cup.
These are the jokes, people. These are the jokes.
You put out the offer for people to be on this show. I present you JackGunski.
Hey, you know what? You throw a pomelo, and all of a sudden, all these tomatoes are going out of work here. That's not
Yep.
fair. You're taking their jobs.
I know, right? These pomelos.
Taking the Rotten Tomatoes job.
Took our germs.
But if you are ever offered a sample of pomelo, be expected for pucker face. You will be butt puckering your face.
And Jen, what you were just talking about reminded me of one of my favorite things that I know I've mentioned on stream before. Do you guys know why banana-flavored candy does not taste like bananas?
Oh yeah, I know.
Because of I want to say parasite got into the last species of banana and basically ruined it, so we had to switch species of banana.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. What does the banana candies taste like?
The original
They
bananas.
taste like bananas from the 1920s.
Mm-hmm. They
For
taste like
real?
the original bananas.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was the same
Am
for.
I right on a parasite, or was it a bacterial infection?
It was a
You
disease.
are right and
Is it-
wrong and
wait.
not going far enough.
Is it about the Chiquita banana fiasco? Because that
This
keeps springing up, and I haven't really looked into it, but for some reason it keeps springing up.
Are
Not
they
really,
canceling
but-
Chiquita Banana?
Yeah.
When will the cancel culture stop, people?
No,
So
she
what happened-
fought a war or something like that. In
Oh yeah,
Venezuela.
they had the banana republics.
Yeah.
But it's somewhat related to that, but not entirely. The thing with bananas is that bananas, as we know them, are almost a clonal species, meaning that every banana is almost identical to every other banana. So we have several different species of banana, but
Mhm.
within each species, they're pretty much all identical. The species that was thought to be the best tasting was the one that was the preferred banana species, and that was the one that was around during the 1920s and before the 1920s. And at that time, they developed a way of making that flavor synthetically.
Mm-hmm.
So they matched the flavor. They went, "This is fantastic." So they started making banana-flavored candies. Because it was effectively a clonal species, though, anytime that there's a parasite, an infection, a rust, anything along those lines, it just sweeps through the population. So we had that banana. We developed the candies. I think it was a disease was the first one, swept through the banana population, completely destroyed that species of banana. So we went to the second best tasting species of banana that we had available. And we started eating that one. And then I think it was a rust swept through that species of banana, killed off that entire species of banana. So we went to the third species of banana and we started eating that one. And then I think it was a fungus took out that one. So we went to the fourth. We're on the sixth species of banana.
But the fifth castle stood.
Well, it's
Exactly
amazing
that
what we
fucking story.
it's amazing what we've actually done with food. When you think about the first potato, there was only one potato. Then they took it to France, and France made 20 different breeds within a 20-year period.
Well, plus the potato used to be poisonous too.
Yeah.
And here's a omen of doom. That old fungus has been spotted on some bananas in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the potatoes are still poisonous in certain ways.
Oh,
Yeah, if you eat them raw,
To this
too
day.
many raw.
If you eat too many raw potatoes,
Or if they're green.
they will kill you stone dead.
Why have
If
to
you
eat?
eat, it's a decent number. I think it's like a pound
Oh, yeah.
of potato or something like
Okay.
that.
Holy shit!
If you eat too many green potatoes,
Oops.
they will kill you stone dead. Also, the thing that not many people realize, if potatoes start to rot, their off-gassing will kill you stone dead.
Wow.
Damn, even their farts will kill you.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah, there's a shit ton of records throughout Europe, and they're still coming out every so often. Just it's not as frequently now.
I could kind of see that. Like, aren't potatoes full of like potassium? Like that's why we eat them, because they have potassium. Or, not
They're
potassium.
A shit ton of different vitamins and.
Yeah, like it's. I know it's similar
yeah,
to bananas. I'm probably using the wrong scientific term. I'm just.
Oh no, they do have potassium in them.
Okay, it is potassium.
There's a bunch of different things within bananas.
I just associate it with gut gas. That's all.
Bananas are one of the most complete food items that you can have. Mm-hmm. There's, in fact, one dish that includes 3 ingredients. Well, technically 4 ingredients. That is all you need to eat for the rest of your life.
Well, also, the banana is also the most radioactive fruit there is, too.
Yes, bananas are. When it comes to potatoes, there's a potato dish that includes 4 ingredients, and if you just eat that and drink water, you will be able to survive without any real complications for the rest of your life. Anyone care to guess what that dish is?
I have no idea, man.
Wait, what's the question again?
What is the potato-based dish with 4 ingredients that can sustain you for your entire life if you just eat it and drink water?
I want to say
mashed potatoes.
Yes! Jack got it in 1.
Really?
Because it has milk in it.
Yep. Oh, so does potato soup.
Milk is the beverage you can have for your entire life and not die.
Yeah, Jack is correct. It's the potatoes, the butter, the milk, and then salt have all of the major compounds that you need in order to sustain life.
Can we add some lentils and maybe some beans?
So a person can live off of just mashed potatoes and water.
If you have milk.
Well, in mashed potatoes, there's always milk.
Yeah, sour cream and whatnot.
But I think that the primary component of that dish is the milk itself.
Yeah, no, it's actually the potatoes. The milk, it doesn't contain as much as what you need, but it contains a few very important aspects.
Yeah, it has that B vitamin for the protein that you need.
But the potatoes, with the skins, include almost every major nutrient that you need in order to sustain life.
But I was told that you can get all the nutrients you need from vegetables alone. A vegan told me.
Yeah, and then you look at them afterwards, and they talk either crazy or they're loopy. I mean, there are normal vegans. There are some people who've done it, but the thing is they will tell you that sometimes they've had to stop and eat an egg.
I think that if Kevin Smith has proven anything to me, it's that the reason vegans are so fucking bitter all the time is that they're just hungry.
I agree. Every time you hear one in a rant, they're ranting about somebody else's barbecue, and I'm like, you would be half as angry if you just... Not all the time. I get it.
The thing is that you can technically sustain life with a vegan diet. You have to be very, very particular about making sure that you balance everything right. And that's the part that I don't really tell you about. They don't
because you have proteins and salt.
Yep, they don't tell you that, you can eat an entirely vegan diet. You'll probably have to take some vitamins, and you have to really make sure that you put in effort to have a complete meal. Whereas if you eat meat, you can get like a steak and potatoes, or steak and mashed potatoes, and you're fucking set, because as I just said, mashed potatoes covers everything. But they don't ever really want to go into the, you have to actually think through your meals in order to make sure that you're balanced diet-wise and have everything that you actually need.
Yep. I also always kind of look at them funny for their opposition to the eggs. Like I they're so warped in their thinking. Like First of all, there's the crazy kooks who think that a chicken egg is a chicken's period, and I'm like, chickens cannot have periods. They don't have the equipment for that. They're not mammals. And it's not like, I understand that every once in a while you get the odd egg that's fertilized, and yeah, I'm offended by that too. I know the Philippines make a meal out of that, but not my culture. Sorry.
What, you mean that you don't want balut?
No, thanks. I know it's supposed to be their equivalent to a hot dog, but I'm just like, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to interject, Jen. Don't feel sorry for the Philippines. Their head of state said he wanted to declare war over the recycling issue because a lot of Canada's recycling goes to the Philippines eventually.
Yeah.
That guy's a little bit crazy.
Well, I mean, his country's getting filled with useless trash.
Don't use my name in vain. Come on now.
I think with them it was just a mistake, and it's just one of those things where we're kind of caught between people who aren't going to take responsibility for it because they'd have to argue with China to do it.
Fuck China.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I think Trudeau would be happy to be fucked by China.
We just call China Northern Taiwan, you know.
OZ, OZ,
Yes.
OZ.
I do have to admit, though, part of me really enjoys the thought of them trying to go to war with Canada. That would be fucking hilarious.
The Philippines?
Yeah. That would be fucking hilarious.
Sounds like the name of a 90s metal band, War with Canada.
It kind of does.
Yeah, I'm not going to say nice things about their president because I don't really know a lot about him. But yeah, the trash thing, honestly, I think it was just a mistake. And if we had leadership who was willing to argue with China, we could maybe fix it faster. But there's no one here. Don't look at either side. They're all tucking their tails and being like, "I'm sorry."
Like I said, part of me would find it absolutely hilarious if they did actually, you know what, Canada? Fuck you, we're going to war.
With us. Like, good luck with that.
How else do you react other than, oh God.
Like, I hate to break it to them, but like I actually genuinely like our Filipinos, but like they wouldn't. I don't think that as many people on his side as he thinks he is who would do that because they're kind of like.
And here's a little history lesson. In both World Wars, Canada was vicious as fuck.
Well, it's not just that. We were on this. Like, the Philippines was on our side. They fought with us. It's the thing is that this leader is not understanding is that it's not a matter of whether or not his country sides with them. It's the fact that the people who live there kind of like us because we employ them a lot. And unless he's got a magical way to give them money back home, they still really like us because we employ them. And I'm saying that with good faith because they're good people.
But Jen, haven't you heard the good news? You can just print money.
I know.
Oh yeah.
That I heard. Yeah.
So keep
That I
those, you know.
heard.
You can just print money, and it has absolutely no negative repercussions. Ignore the fact that your rent, your gas, your food, your purchases of any sort have all increased in price and are all increasing in price at a rather alarming rate. Well, the amount that you're paid is stagnant because that isn't being affected as much.
Speaking of which,
oh, go ahead.
I went to the store today. 12-pack of soda. How much would you think that a 12-pack of soda should cost off the top of your head? US dollars, folks.
$3 to $5.
Yeah.
I saw it being sold for $8.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I could see that. I mean, not very often, but I could see that. Like we've had problems getting pop across the border, and I mean that with you guys. Like up here, we had a shortage on Canadian Dry, the diet, and the regular for almost 6 months, and it was kind of laughable because we had Dr. Pepper, and you guys had Canadian Dry, but it was just like what?
Well, most cities have their own bottling plant though too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we had a huge shortage, but like there's been a lot of problems with the trade across the border, and I'm looking at our guys because they fucked up when they were negotiating with Trump. So Biden hasn't really I really don't think they're getting much from him either, to be quite frank.
Mhm.
I've legit been calling it since the get-go that Trudeau's probably sitting at the phone going like, Biden, please talk to me.
And honestly, Trudeau is such a moron that he's going to probably, when Biden collapses the U.S. economy, take Canada with it.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, Boris Johnson, right across the sea, he's ready, willing, and able. Right there. We share so much culture. It is a literal no-brainer.
Yeah, it is just infuriating how people are just absolutely fucking our economies.
yeah. Well, the middle class is shrinking as well. You know,
It is.
they're killing the middle class.
Well, we're overworked.
Yeah.
They've made drugs available for us, which I'm not complaining because I like pot. I've never thought it should have been illegal, but they've made it so available that everyone who's like out of work and depressed and bored, that's basically it. You're drinking, you're smoking, or you're playing games online because there's nothing else to do.
Or doing all three.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, this is like dystopian nightmare shit.
It really
The
is.
The entire population is depressed, and I mean not like depressed in the sad way. I mean like disempowered completely, unable to function on the basic level. And there's an entire section of our economy that is totally understaffed, and it's the base level jobs because people aren't willing to do them anymore. And it's probably mostly to do with the fact that they just don't have the motivation to do anything anymore.
And the thing is that they've been almost systematically fucking us over. Because when you talk to the average person, yeah, work is not something that they necessarily enjoy, but it is kind of a motivating force. Having a job that you go to, having shit that you have to do, that you can do, causes you to actually go out of your way to do that shit. Whereas when you get told, no, you can't work, no, you can't do this, a lot of people kind of get, not really their meaning, because that goes beyond what I'm trying to say, but they get a lot of their motivation from work.
Positive actions beget positive actions.
Yes.
Yep.
They build off of each other. I think Jordan Peterson talked a bit about this, where he said that doing a positive thing in your life can have a compounding effect because it gives you the follow through to do another positive action, and so on.
It's kind of like one of the main ways that people recommend if you're trying to work through your debts. Let's say you have a shit ton of credit cards and you're trying to work through your credit card debt. What you do is, one of the best ways is you hold it so that you're making minimum payments on all of your cards, and then you select one card at a time. And there's two different methodologies to this. One way is you select the card that you have the most due to. Another way is you select them in inverse order, so the least, and you kind of roll up your debt is the way that one's referred to, because you start with the one that you owe the least money to, and you pay as much as you can at every opportunity while paying the scheduled amount for everything else. So pretty much the minimum amount, the amount that keeps you from owing more to all the others. And once you get rid of that one, you go to the next one. And then once you get rid of that one, you go to the next one. And as you go, you feel momentum because you're getting more above water with each card that you knock off. Or you can do, like I said, start with the one that you owe the most to, while holding all the others steady, and you pay off that one. Once that one's toppled, you get this massive, that's 90% of the battle. Now I just need to knock down this shit. That's going to be easy, and you continue on.
I never had a credit card, so I don't worry about that kind of stuff.
Well, let's also not forget how much credit score that'll build for you too.
Yep. Yeah. Those are the two main methods that I've heard people recommend to others that are having issues when it comes to their finances and trying to deal with credit card debt. It's make sure that you figure out all your credit card debts, rank order them, and then decide whether you want to start from lowest and go to highest, or start from highest and go to lowest. Another way is looking at how much the interest rate is, and you do it based off the interest rate. So you go from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. That's another method of doing it. But you just build up that momentum, and that's the reason why there's the clean your room shit that became
Sorry.
because it's actually good advice.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it just is this constant thing of, when you're doing something and you have some output that you can see, you're more likely to continue.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Like I would say since I've been, and I'm sure other people have been the same, like everyone's different, being clustered inside so much, but part of my motivation for doing so much exercise and losing so much weight is just pure boredom.
Mm-hmm.
Like half my time spent online, I'm like, I can sit behind my chair and actually do exercise and no one knows a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll do that. Like I'll be on Discord and I'll sit there for an hour doing a hardcore workout because I actually saw things change.
Yeah, and I've been losing weight as well. And
Good job.
what I recommend, I've been doing a number of things. So I weigh myself every day. Some people recommend against that. I recommend for it. But look at the trend. Don't look at the individual weigh-ins. So actually stick that shit into a graph and watch your weight over time, your change in weight, not just, well, I'm up 2 pounds from this point, but I'm down. No, just zoom out and go, okay, what is my slope of this line? I don't give a shit about anything else. What's the slope? And then the other main thing is have multiple benchmarks. So don't just go for your scale. Don't just go for your clothing. Don't just have like 3 or 4 different things where it's, okay, I have my scale, the number on the scale. I have these 4 articles of clothing that I haven't been able to fit in for a good long while. Donkey just fell down the steps.
Yep.
That was done.
I'm jealous. We haven't had rain in like ages. And Sora's province has been on fire for months. I'm like, can you turn that shit off?
I live in South California. We haven't had rain in 10 years.
I know. You guys too. Would you stop that shit? I'm kidding.
But yeah, just go for multiple methods of tracking your progress, because there have been times where in this course where I'm losing weight, I've kind of held consistent weight for a while, but my belt, I've gone down a hole during that time period.
Me too.
I actually went up 2 pant sizes because I've been gaining weight. But I used to be underweight too, so
So that's a good thing for you then.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Make it so that everything that you're trying to do has a measurable outcome, and make it so that it isn't just one thing that you're measuring. Make it so that you're keeping track of a couple different measurable outcomes, because there will be times where one thing doesn't change, but one of the other things does, which tells you that, yep, you're still making progress. You want that feedback.
I sure do. I'm actually going to tell this one to you too, Eeyore, because so you know how the system is up here in Canada. If you go to complete your GED, yeah, for your high school, you know how you have to go through the whole year completing the whole goddamn thing, and it's like really expensive and time consuming and kind of a pain in the ass. I cheated the system. I took a course that took me like 3 days. I passed it with 100%. It cost me like $125. And I'm so sad because they didn't bring it out until this year. Our country's retarded.
So everyone in here knows how the GED is, for the most part, viewed as something that it's, oh yeah, you weren't able to pass high school, so you get a GED instead. Everyone kind of knows that stereotype, right?
Yeah.
I passed high school normally. Only person in my family group.
It used to be with certain GEDs,
Mm-hmm.
or what were the predecessors to the GED, that wasn't the case. Like, New York used to have one of the most ridiculous versions of it,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where if you had that you passed that and someone else had that they passed high school, the person passing that thing would have gotten preference.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Because they're so hard. They are literally that hard.
Yep, because they were much harder. And the problem is, over time, they kept on going, well, we don't have enough people passing. We need to lower the step. We don't have enough people. We need to lower this. We need to lower. And when you do that, you end with the, yeah, it's a joke.
Like, don't get me wrong. I do appreciate it, because I was just missing a credit. Like, the idea of having to take, almost the equivalent of a whole high school course in 1 year just to get one credit, and then pay for each course, because that's what they were going to do. They were going to charge me $600 for each course.
Mm-hmm.
I am grateful for that, because yeah, that was part of the reason why I'd put it off. Like, because there's just so many ways that would have failed me. Just for one credit. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm a stupid person, but that's a hell of a lot to put on a person too.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually respect people who did do the whole thing, but I'm also really grateful for the fact I cheated the system, because I didn't want to spend the money either. I get an investment, but I can't afford that investment.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Yeah, I do appreciate that sometimes it's nice to find little loopholes for certain situations. But if I'd been missing more than a credit, yeah, I would have done it. Because there's a reason you should. Like, it's supposed to educate you. I really just didn't want to try to do the new math, the applied math. I was like, oh God, no. Oh no.
Do you mean the new math, or do you mean the...
Yeah.
What's the term for the current version? It is... Fuck, why can't I remember the name of it?
By the way, Tom Lehrer, take a shot.
Yes, exactly.
I don't drink.
I don't hate math. It's just, if you're going to make it more complicated, I'm like, please don't do that.
What the fuck is the name of the newest one? Common Core, yes.
Common Core. That's the thing. I was worried that they would start making me learn Common Core. And I was like, don't do that. I prefer the old math. I can actually still do the old math. It takes me a little bit, because I have to visualize it.
Do you mean math, or do you mean new math when you're referring to old math?
She means maths,
like I'm picturing writing it down. So like if you're doing like an equation, or if you're doing a fraction, or if you're doing like 2 times 2, or like, you know, I even have the picture of the structure of how I wrote it down on paper in my head. It just
Okay.
takes me longer to just visualize it and focus on what I'm thinking about. But yeah, I can do math in my head.
Yeah, they
I
should
just-
have come up with a better name than New Math when they came out with that one.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if
Because-
that's what it was called, because
Now, New Math is considered Old Math, which makes it confusing because are you referring to New Math or are you referring to Old New Math?
It still blows my mind that people who name things do it with things that can become dated so quickly.
Yeah, zero future proofing of naming.
Yeah, for example, modernism.
Yep.
Who the fuck thought of the name modernism? Jesus Christ.
Because it's current day, Jack. Didn't you know? Sorry.
Also, if you were going to name every generation with something with a lazy naming convention, why would you start with the letter X?
Yep.
Why not start with A? Or something that can actually go somewhere?
Though the question is, now that we're at Gen Z, are we going to be going Gen AA? Is that the... Or be Gen A1?
The first 5 years of Generation Alpha are still about entering school soon.
I would suggest that if you're done with the regular alphabet, which presumably you are because you were stupid enough to start at the letter X, you would immediately start going into
Greek?
Greek, yeah. You'd start with Alpha.
I can appreciate
That's
it.
what
I
I
don't
said.
have. I can appreciate I don't have children yet, because I would call the next generation screwed.
Wait, so they did go to Grecian and they're calling it Gen Alpha?
Gen Alpha has been around for 5 years, with the oldest of them starting school this next month.
So which alphabet are we going to go to after Greek?
I don't know. By that point, we can probably just start over.
Just start listing out genders. They'll never run out after that.
I swear they're gonna go the route of the Pokemon. You know, it's just like Pokemon, because every time they bring up Pokemon, you get what, like 150 more Pokemon or something.
And Jack, that's a question then. Would it be gender fluid or would it just be gender fluid?
Ah. I've lost weight, I'll have you know, so I'm not so fluidy.
And also, if you've lost weight, you're about 30% less likely to be a made-up gender.
Yes, apparently I'm fat phobic. I'm not. I honestly don't give a shit what you do with your health, so long as I don't have to pay for it. That's my honest opinion. If you want to kill yourself slowly, I no longer give a shit, because it's not really my business. And I don't want to be cruel to people just because they're different. Like, I don't have that problem. But
Well,
if you're telling me what to do with my body, you can automatically go fuck yourself after asking me to ignore yours.
Donkey, how many more times are you going to make me click you back in?
Wow, poor donkey.
As many times as my phone demands.
You only allow
On
3.
your phone?
Yes, I'm on my phone at a bus stop.
Aww.
That
What are you,
explains
Forrest
the
Gump?
echo.
Yeah.
No, Forrest Gump did interesting things.
Want a box of chocolates?
No, not from
An
some
old
guy
with-
saying it like that.
Yeah, with that impression, Forrest Gump was less retarded.
Mama
Terry
always
thinks the
told me.
next. Don't call them TMaxi. That sounds like a maxi pad. I know I got to change that name. I just don't know what to.
Shit, I imagine that even Bubba's going, something isn't wrong with that boy, so back to shrimp.
Hey, shrimp is good.
Shrimp gumbo, shrimp scampi, fried shrimp. And
Yeah.
yes, he's at a bus stop, apparently. Check your logic.
Yeah, he's
I'm
waiting to go
guessing he
home.
got kicked off the corner.
Actually, the bus stop is right on a corner.
Hey, it was canceled this evening. Because there's
Wait, why are you at a bus stop?
JenTMaxi.
I'm at a bus stop because we just passed a noise curfew where I live, and there's just a bus stop outside, and I can still get Wi-Fi there. So I don't get in trouble with my landlord, and I can still hold a stable connection.
Okay.
I appreciate your offer, Kiever, but I can't do that because I'm 5'5", so I'm sure some midget would accuse me of appropriating size or something. Yeah.
Just a little bit of forced perspective, and you can join the Lollipop Guild.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I did if I did streams where I did them on my knees or something, it was like, I'm JenTMaxi. Oh, that would go over well for like 5 minutes and then I'd be canceled. But it might be amusing for the 5 seconds, Oh boy.
I want
just have to
sushi,
ask,
damn it.
Which one of us were you referring to as the old man when it came to old man rants starting? Keyword M? Was I once again assumed to be a Dumbledore-esque character?
Oh, if it makes any difference, I'm referred to the one who does the old man rants all the time.
Okay. So it might be you're the old man and the old man rant this time.
It very well could be, except that I don't think I've been talking nearly enough to earn that title this show.
I feel like an old man, Does that count?
I don't know.
No, because he didn't rant.
Well, I don't rant. So we have the race.
That was a
And Donkey
rant.
just died.
Poor Donkey.
And then the soul exiting.
And Keith
Alas.
says yes, she was talking to Jack.
Alas, I knew him in passing.
Oh, come on, it was just a food truck.
He had a nail in his butt,
A food truck?
Food truck.
Oh.
What kind of food truck was it?
I don't know.
Well, how
Did
do
you
you know
try
it was
to
a
order
food
while
truck?
it was in passing or some shit? You got close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Kiever Dam confirms that yes, she is referring to me as the old man ranter.
Okay.
So he'd be down like clouds,
Damn, you didn't have to say nothing. You're old man.
And I only rant on the corner because the format calls for it. Just saying. I like to think that in other areas I am more subdued.
So what I'm learning is that everyone's working a corner of one sort or another, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm just a spoon, don't let me into these guys,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the reason I'm here is because the corner was canceled this evening because the host wanted to go and have a real life with real people and friends and stuff.
No, let's be honest. There was some jackass sitting at the bus station there, and he didn't want to go out and have to deal with that shit. So now I ended up with the jackass. That's
Yeah.
comma in between. I have the jack and the ass.
Hey. Is it like fucking Scribes Pepperjack?
No, it's not like Scribes Pepperjack. It sounds a lot more like you guys need to start a daytime radio show.
Yeah, no. Eeyore and I need to start a show together, and he'll be the one that corrects me on everything, and I'll be the one that wants to choke a bitch out.
Oh. So that's what you do in your bedroom?
And you end each broadcast with a blood level test, How much did he push me today? Oh shit.
And up next on WZZO is Jack and the ass.
Unless you want a horrible Robin Williams impression, I am not going to continue that joke.
Yeah, don't go Good Morning Vietnam on us.
What to do with it, no.
Though it would immediately be the sound of a braying donkey the moment that the ass echo finished. It would just be this. Because there's always some weird animal noise. And it's always one of them has to be named after an animal. It's always like Billy and the chimpanzee. And you're just going, what the fuck? What?
I could do this. So, you know, that's about
Oh
it.
yeah, no, do not do that.
I'm not
Wait.
sure what that was, so don't
It's
do
not,
it again.
it's not Scooby-Doo laugh, you know?
It could be Jason could be the latter half of that
I
equation.
don't know what Scooby.
It's Johnny and the Spoon.
That was not Scooby Doo.
Oh, no. My mic is picking up right, that's why.
Someone like Gollum.
Join us for Johnny and the Spoon.
Busting a nut. That was bad.
Well, I'm glad to make you laugh. That's all that matters.
That goddamn description, like a goblin busted a nut.
Well, you want noises, so I made some for you.
I could have lived without knowing that's what a goblin sounds like when busting a nut, but now due to both Jason and Adam, I now know that that's what the sound is.
Yep.
And no one was half the battle.
That is a very offensive description. I am offended.
Hold on.
I could do other noises too, but I won't for you. You know.
And that's the thing. I was just gonna say too. Like, this is a beautiful back to the Jack in the ass.
Yeah. I mean, I could do animal voices too, but honestly, I can't when I'm not inspired. Like, it's just meh.
Like I said, my mic, let's pick it up right.
Yeah, it's it's like Americans trying to do Scottish accents. It's not that people can't. It's just if you're not in the mood and you can tell, the actor just sucks.
So what you're saying is that you need to be absolutely raging, just knocking at the underside of your desk in order to do a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
Or is that the wrong sort of in the mood?
I have a suspicion that Americans are actually great at accents, and everybody else just says we're bad because that would just be another thing that Americans are much better than everyone else at.
No.
With the exception of women's soccer, of course.
Says a guy who's never been to Europe. I think it's more of one of those things where when you go to Europe, you realize the problem is there's too many varieties for you guys to get it right.
Yes, like the subtle differences between Slovak, Slovene, and Czech.
Like there's a lot of variants, and that's the problem. Like for us, we have our own variants. Like, you know, North America, Canada, we all have our accents. I mean, I can blend in some provinces and some states.
The thing is, everybody has an accent.
Yeah. But I mean, you go to some places in England, and you know that you're lost because you don't know what they're talking about.
See, I damn near said something in response to what Donkey said that would have gotten either us in trouble or someone would have quote-mined me saying it.
What about Slovak, Slovenes, and Czechs?
What word is derived from Slav?
Slav is literally the Latin word for slave.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then think of what could have been said is what's the similarity between all of them. Moving on. So, anyone catch anything interesting today that they wanted to chat about?
I saw that the movie Idiocracy is available on YouTube for free right now.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah. Is it any good?
What?
Why?
Is it any
I
good?
wonder why.
Why would you rent it when you can just watch it happen live?
Yeah.
Mm.
Hey, and also Nacho Libre is free on YouTube,
Oh, yeah?
and that's a good movie too.
But I love the movie Idiocracy. It's such a great, funny, clever movie. It's really, I mean, first of all, the premise itself is very interesting. You have the most average intelligence man on the planet being sent into the future where everybody is an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But the jokes in it are just really really good. Like they do keep doing callbacks to who here has seen the movie?
Yep.
Yeah. Like Brondo is what plants crave, and so everybody is salting the earth effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of movies, so.
Well, I would definitely give this one a watch.
Yeah.
Idiocracy. It is very, very funny.
See, what I really miss, and I wish that we would be able to actually have them and do them properly again, were the old school spoof movies. Not the really shitty spoof movies, but I'm talking like Airplane, The Naked Gun, and shit
Oh
like
shit!
that.
Yeah, Naked Gun is free on YouTube. On YouTube right now.
Do you mean great movies like Terrible Movie 4?
Like I said,
No, not the
Spy
movie.
Hard, the Naked Gun series.
Yeah.
So, in other
Police
words,
Squad,
Oh,
your
Major League,
Airplane.
too.
Well, did you not know you guys could watch all the G.I. Joes live streaming 24/7? The original? Yeah.
Sanguine, I don't think that you're asking for a return to better movies. I think you're asking us to bring Leslie Nielsen back from the dead.
See, Leslie
mean-
Nielsen was great in those, but Leslie Nielsen is one of those actors that if someone knows how to use him, he's fucking amazing.
I didn't know
If
he's
they
dead.
don't, you end
Yeah,
up
he
with
died.
a scary movie.
When did he die?
For the record, I thought that Scary Movie 3 was
3-4
very
years
funny.
ago.
Okay.
But yeah, the movies that were spoof movies before we got into the run of like Scary Movie, a Spartan movie, and shit like that
Yeah.
were really goddamn good because they spoofed the actual genre. And a lot of the old ones, they kind of had this almost unwritten rule of if a gag is happening up front, everything in back is dead serious. If something dead serious is happening up front, everything in back is a joke. So there was always something to look at that was funny, but there was also always something that was actually moving a plot forward.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. You first.
That actually reminds me. There was a TV show that actually has a similar principle that you're talking about. The TV show Community, back when it was on, that was a feature. That was a common theme that would happen. Is that something funny would be going on in the background while something serious was happening in the foreground. For example, there's one episode where one of the characters, Abed, is delivering a baby in the background while the foreground is, a totally different plot happening, and you barely even notice it because it's even blurred out to a certain extent because that's how cameras work. And Community, what's more, was a show known for spoofing genres like that.
Yeah, and when you do a proper spoof like that, they're amazing. The problem with the scary movies, a date movie, a Spartan movie, and shit like that is rather than spoofing the genre and just doing ridiculous shit while having it still have a plot and be about the genre, they instead just made a shit ton of references to things, and they paused after every one, like, this is when you're supposed to laugh.
Yeah, reference.
Which unfortunately also very highly dates your movie and puts a lot of prerequisites to actually watch and enjoy it. Whereas spoofing a spy movie, I think you didn't mention it, but Austin Powers did quite well.
Yeah, I didn't mention Austin Powers, but I did mention Spy Hard, which was another one that spoofed spy movies, as well as, what was it, Top Secret? I think it was Top Secret, right?
Yes. Top Secret was also a spoof.
And that's the one where it was Val Kilmer, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Top Secret is a fantastic spoof movie. If you haven't seen Top Secret, you should go watch Top Secret at some point.
Val Kilmer makes me feel sad because I feel like he wasted a lot of his career.
Oh yeah, he did. And
because he was fucking funny.
Yeah, and
he did serious roles fairly well too. Like he did a lot of different stuff.
Yep, and what they did right in that movie that so many modern spoofs fuck up is every joke in that movie was delivered entirely straight.
Yes. I mean, that's how Airplane came into being.
Yep.
All the jokes they told the actors to play it straight. And because the jokes, because they were played straight, it subverted expectations.
Yeah, just like Police Academy did that as well. Because there's the Shirley, you can't be serious. I am, and don't call me Shirley. There was no smirk. There was nothing to give away any sort of, this is when you're supposed to laugh, because the dialogue continues right after that. It was just this real quick bit and continuing on. Whereas, like I said, now in all of the scary movies, Spartan movie, date movie, and shit like that, all the X movies that are spoofs, they have it where they'll make some reference and they'll pause for other people or for the people watching to laugh, and then they'll continue. And if you don't laugh, it's the most awkward fucking thing in the world.
Yeah, that's why I walked out on the Spartan movie. I don't like it. So.
Yeah, because it was just references, and it was references with pauses for you to laugh immediately after the reference. Then they go into another reference after that. But yeah, Real Genius was amazing for that. And I just keep on harping on it because you can't really beat the Naked Guns, Airplane, Top Secret, Spy Hard, and shit like that for doing that as well. Because they just perfectly nailed that, do it all straight, don't have any sort of, this is a joke, like they have with so many fucking comedy movies now.
There's like this weird compulsion to be winking at the audience constantly,
which ruins it.
A little bit of winking is okay, but not a lot, because it removes you from the being able to appreciate the joke. I think this is the reason that a lot of female comedians don't do so well, because when they make a joke, they try and be winky about it, as if, look how clever my joke is. And that is an automatic turnoff.
And you have to earn your wink if you're going to do one. It can't be something that is constant, and it has to be something that is slightly built up to, or is entirely out of the blue, and thus makes it funnier. You have to go for one of those two extremes in order to earn that wink. Like, it's one thing when you have it where it's a built-in factor of the world that one character breaks the fourth wall, and then they break the fourth wall and give that wink. Yeah, no one really has a problem with that. When your characters aren't supposed to know that there's a fourth wall, and they constantly break the fourth wall to give that wink, that ruins it. When your characters don't know that there's a fourth wall, and then just suddenly, randomly, like one of the characters is moving towards the camera and then walks face first into it, that is then funny, because you're playing it up serious, and then it's just a sudden, oh yeah, it's a movie.
Well, that's not the Deadpool movies, because they're the same way. They break their fourth wall at the right point, but not all the time,
Yep.
Same as comic books and just cartoons. It's always the same.
Yeah, because the character, part of Deadpool is Deadpool knows that there's a fourth wall and breaks it routinely.
Yeah.
It's built into the character. It's part of his insanity. Is he's actually correct? He's a fucking comic character.
Honestly, I could live without winking in comedy altogether.
Yeah, I had better comedy from Neebs Gaming. Just from this one scene where this guy figured out that you could fill somebody's inventory with like a bunch of dino poo, and he didn't realize that you can just drop it all at once. So he filled his whole house with giant dino poo, and he crashed his server.
Nice.
It looks like giant turd popcorn. For the record, Arc poo looks like giant turd popcorn.
And on that, spontaneous jokes and comedy moments brought about by multiplayer gaming, I just find hilarious. Because there is no setup, it just happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know what brought it about, but in the Minions server, there was, for some reason, just like 5 or 6 different Matt Damon things that happened all at once. And they made me laugh because shortly before that, just out of the blue, I remembered this weird thing from hanging out with my best friend years ago, where I think we were at a convention or some shit. We'd just come back to the room after having a fairly boozy meal, and we're just bullshitting before we went to the next thing that we were going to head off to. And on the TV was this one commercial, and I want to say the line was, Matt Damon walks onto the screen and says, "Hi, my name's Dave." And it's just one of those commercials where he's taking on the role of one of the actual people that use the service or use the product type deal. And my best friend, not really paying attention, a bit into his cups, goes, "Hi, Dave. Wait, you're not Dave. You're fucking Matt Damon." And it just killed me because it was just this out of what the okay. And then the fact that it was just shit ton of Matt Damon things all at once, shortly after remembering that, made me just go, what the fuck is going on? Why is Matt Damon everywhere?
Well, it's kind of like in the Ocean's 11, where they had Julia Roberts play Julia Roberts for that one scene.
Are they really that mad at him just because he just learned from his daughter that saying the fag word is inappropriate? Just like...
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, they're wanting to cancel Matt Damon because he said in I can't remember if it was an announcement or on Twitter that his daughter had finally convinced him that calling someone a fag was really not a good thing to do. Like, it was kind of a hurtful thing to do, and he decided to change his language, and so the left was like, "Are you kidding? It's 2021. Hi, how haven't you figured this out yet?" So they've decided to cancel him. So that might be why.
Okay, so that's
I think it was an
why
interview,
there
though,
was a
too.
shit ton about him. Yeah, I didn't know that. Though that also makes me go, no, the proper response to anything like that is, not all fags are gay fags. You can be a fag without being gay. You can be gay without being a fag. Sometimes, someone is fag and gay, but sometimes they're just a fag.
Once upon a time, a fag was literally a bundle of sticks. If you were bringing a
That's a
fag to
faggot.
a party, yeah, I know. But when you were bringing a faggot to a party, it meant that you could have a longer party because you were bringing more wood to burn.
Yeah, and you can also get faggots and gravy, which
Yes.
are delicious. Faggots and mash. Fantastic. But, yeah, I don't get this obsession with, no, we will make this only mean this specific thing, and we will make it something hateful.
Well, people
Because-
don't understand contents or context.
It's because they want to make it hateful. They want to hate something.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the thing that I don't understand. I
It's
don't
control.
get why.
They want control
Because
of speech.
because it provides them with a sense of false superiority. You are bad, so by extension, that makes me good. So if I can find a reason to make you bad, then I can feel good about myself.
But at the
Because everything
same
I do is
time-
good.
At the same time, these people make it so that they goddamn melt whenever they hear the word.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, it's part of it.
yeah, and that's weakening yourself to something.
That makes you
It's
sympathetic.
part of the routine.
And sympathy, and or not, it makes you appear sympathetic. It doesn't really give you sympathy, it gives you pity. And pity, if you are maladjusted, feels kind of good because people are paying attention to you and they're acting kindly towards you. When you should feel upset by the fact that people are pitying you.
I'm actually happy I grew up in this era because I know exactly how to point out a social parasite and exactly how to get rid of them.
Yeah, when it comes to words, just expand the use if you don't like it. That's what, and change the way that it's used. That's how nerd stopped being an insult.
Mm-hmm.
Because people started going,
They did
yeah,
it
I'm a
once
nerd.
with gay. I mean, gay used to be an insult too, and honestly, gay used to be like another word associated with joy.
Yep.
It's in the Flintstones theme song. They talk about having a gay old time. It was a joyful time. The gays claimed it. They were like, "Oh, well, you were using it as a slur, and it's actually a nice word, so we're going to take it."
Yep.
Okay, take another. You know what? Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair
and
enough.
If it is such a negative thing that you can't really turn it into a positive, okay, expand its negative. Make it so that it just becomes like there's a amazing. Everyone here has seen the Boondocks, right?
Mhm.
Do you remember the explanation that Martin Luther King gave of the difference between black people and
The other word?
yes, because I'm willing to bet YouTube will try to bop us if I say it.
Yeah.
That was a goddamn beautiful explanation of, yeah, there are black people. Black people are fine. Black people don't cause any problems. Then there's... And just goes into this rant of, they wax and wane, they love to complain.
They're
That's between
perpetually victims and they use their race card every chance that they can get.
Yeah, just expand the usage of a word if you don't like it. Because if it's insulting, okay, make it describe everyone that fits that set of behaviors, not just one group that fits that set of behaviors. If you are able to, turn it into something that you go, yeah, so what? I'm this.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll again lose its fucking bite. That's how you actually change things. That's how you actually make things better. Don't tell people don't say something because it makes you more susceptible to it. And it also makes people go, you don't fucking tell me what I can't say.
Well, it is actually a thing. Like, people are really starting to speak back. And yeah, there's the old guy, but he's not alone in that regard. I think people's opinions on this are changing a lot faster than they think, because there's a certain level of respect that they are no longer really appreciating. Because when you get to dictate what I can say and I can't even criticize you for it, you know who's in charge when you can't criticize somebody for it.
When the Pollock is making fun of the bog trotter, is making fun of the sheep shagger, is making fun of the goddamn Slav, is making fun of that Guinea motherfucker over there, that's when people actually start getting together.
Yeah, well, I mean, better friends know how to roast each other. It's kind of a sign that those are kind of things that I like about you too. Like, yeah, they're kind of things that you probably are struggling with, but I'm trying to cheer you up because you're my friend.
Fuck the French.
Yeah, I love bog trotter. It's a phrase not used enough.
But no, like there's a lot to this that I think that they're not appreciating. So like I don't know if other people have a problem with this, but so like for people that I know who are trans, they've done the effort of doing enough that it makes me easy to make that leap. You know, if I watch Blair White, it's not that hard for me to make that leap. But in all honesty, if I am talking to someone who hasn't put in any effort, it is actually a lot more difficult for me to do that. Now, does that mean I'm going to be rude about it? No. I'm going to try. But at the same time, you are asking me to lie to myself. And my brain, every time I do that, is actually going, wait, what am I saying? Like, I am actually double asking myself all the time when that happens, because it's not true. You might think you're a man, and I can appreciate, or a woman, or whatever. Sorry, but and I can appreciate that. But there are moments where, like, if you haven't done anything to transition, like, it makes it a little bit harder for my brain to make that leap.
And I still stand by my argument when it comes to that I've had ever since gender's a social construct. Social problems deserve social solutions. Medical problems deserve medical solutions. If it's a social construct, then it should not get a medical solution. If it's not a social construct, then it can get a medical solution, and it should not get a social solution. If you want to say that it's a mixed problem, then yeah, it gets a bit of each. But if you're saying that it is solely a social problem, then why the fuck would we do something medically about it?
My fault with that particular turn of phrase, it's a social construct, is like, yeah, the thing about social constructs is that they are created by society. It's a social construct. It's not a you construct. You don't get to just make shit up.
And when I also hate how slippery people get with the, well, it's a social construct, because there seems to be several different things that they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Because I saw someone, and this pissed me off to no end. Then my Twitter refreshed, so I was not able to comment on it, which was even more infuriating. But it was someone saying that sex, like race and species, were social constructs.
Wow.
I mean, like, everything is kind of like a social construct if you think about it.
Just the naming of it.
If that's the thing, if you're talking about the words, then yeah, they are entirely made up, and their definitions are applied as we see fit.
They are constructed with socials.
Yeah, they're constructed by the agreement of other people. If you're saying that, yes, the word species is a construct, because we could call that anything else and it would be that thing, okay, that's useless, because everything is that way. If you're trying to say that there's no phenomenon that word currently describes, are you fucking high?
I think that one of the big problems we have in modern society is a problem of classification. Because classification does not mean that the class you apply to something fits it exactly. There's wiggle room. That's the way classes are defined, is that you look at the entirety and you divvy it up and you group things together on that basis. If there are minor cosmetic differences, that won't that won't necessarily push you into a different class. However, we have people who are disingenuously saying that the slightest difference means you're a different class altogether.
Yeah, that would... It's like the way that they take it is that if any descriptor of something does not fit, then you have to have an entirely different term for it. Which, by that extent, an amputee is not human.
Yeah.
Because part of the definition of, and not even just an amputee, but someone who has a more prominent right arm than a left arm, or has a mole on one side of their face without a matching mole on the other, is technically no longer human. Because according to if you look at all the definitions of all the categories that humans fall into, one of the criteria is bilateral symmetry. Which means that if you split someone down the middle vertically, the left half is identical to the right half. That's what bilateral symmetry means. So if there's anything that causes a deviation between that, well, then it isn't bilaterally symmetrical. So if someone has, like I said, they are an amputee and they're missing their right arm, but they still have their left arm, well, clearly we can't call them human anymore because they lack bilateral symmetry. No one's going to fucking argue that, though, because everyone would immediately go, are you goddamn insane? That's an exception. They're still human. Just when you're trying to identify whether an animal falls into these categories or these categories, one of them is the average member of that species bilaterally symmetrical. And if yes, then they fall into this category. If no, they fall into that category. An amputee does not make them no longer human. But they're trying to pull that bullshit with goddamn everything. Well, it's possible for someone to have testosterone or androgen immunity. Are all of you guys familiar with what that is?
I think I've heard about it before. Their hormone imbalance or something.
It's not a hormone imbalance. So a testosterone, or sometimes it's just known as the more general term, androgen immunity, is when someone with XY chromosomes has absolutely no reaction to the presence of testosterone in their systems. So, a person who is XY that has testosterone immunity will appear as the most hyper feminine woman that you can imagine.
Okay.
Because their body does not react to testosterone. So all of the effects of testosterone that would normally cause a body to develop this way or that way do not take effect. Testosterone stimulating the growth of facial hair, for instance. They do not get that effect. So they do not start really generating or stimulating facial hair growth. The testosterone thickening, or testosterone causing the bones to thicken, does not happen. The small amounts of testosterone that start getting released in utero, causing the formation of male genitalia, does not happen. Because the testosterone, while it's still being produced, has no effect on them. So you end up with the most insanely hyper-feminized appearance for someone, since absolutely no testosterone effects take place. So it's just the pure estrogen and the various other hormones that control development taking over. Whereas a standard woman that has normal testosterone sensitivity also gets a little bit of those testosterone effects. So if they get a bit more testosterone, they'll have kind of a squarer jaw than if they have less testosterone. They'll have thicker bones than if they had less testosterone. But testosterone insensitivity or testosterone immunity causes none of those effects to take place. So you just end up with this ridiculously feminine figure. Very kind of smooth skin, effectively. Hair growth is more like that of a woman than that of a man. Their figure, their bone structure, their muscle structure, and density, all of that will develop as if they were an extremely low testosterone female.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extremely rare abnormality. But they'll try to say that because that abnormality exists, and like 1 in 100,000 people have that abnormality, that, see, sex isn't just the genetics, even though that abnormality is actually coded in the genetics. There's a sequence for having testosterone immunity. So it is still in the genetics. It's just, what the fuck, people?
Well, the other thing Czech was saying that apparently their argument for gender as a social construct is that men wore powdered wigs and dresses before. And I hate to break it to him that if you really want to know about those guys, they were a group called the Macaroni. And if you really want to know a really funny story, they're the reason why Yankee Doodle was popular in the US, because they came over dressed up like fucking clowns to be like, hey, look at all this money that we have. And the US was just basically like, yeah, you kind of look like fucking clowns.
Yeah,
that's what Yankee Doodle became. Posh. Yeah.
They were the extremely posh pricks that everyone was kind of going, they're a jackass, aren't they? Yep.
They weren't doing it to be effeminate. They were doing it to be obnoxious, because the stuff that they were spending on that was ridiculous. And that's the thing that made it funny, was because they were dressed like fucking clowns. And be like, look at all the money we've got. And the Americans were like, we have a fucking country, man. We got better things to spend our money on. Like, seriously. Yeah, I'm sorry. I love that story because the response was just like so low key. Like, yeah, I don't care. Fuck you.
And they'll point to small changes as if, see, this massively changes how we depict things. And no, they don't. Like,
they didn't look into that at all, did they, Jack?
The fact that, like, yeah, heels used to be more common for men than they were for women. Anyone care to guess why?
Napoleon Bonaparte.
I'll give you a hint when they became more common. The common mode of transportation was a horse.
Yeah, that's true, because you had to walk over, like, some of the shoes back in the day actually had, like, heels and stilts and stuff, because...
Well, the heels for men was because it made it easier for the stirrup. You could rest your foot more comfortably in the stirrup with your heel kind of locking the foot in if it had a higher heel. So you'd stick your foot in the stirrup, your heel would catch on the stirrup, and you're nice and secure. So yeah, men who would ride with their legs astride a horse and their feet in stirrups wore thicker heels so that they could get that locking of the stirrup. But now they're going, oh, see, men used to be the ones that wore heels, whereas women didn't really wear heels. Yeah, they wore them because it helped them ride horses. Pointing to change in the use of heels from something that had function to, man, that makes your ass look real nice, is not really saying that, see, this is entirely changing because now the women wear heels. If someone from that time came to the present day, they would think that women were wearing masculine footwear. No, they wouldn't.
And you're like, you do realize that women back in the day had to ride horses sometimes too. Like it might not have been as frequent, you know, maybe they got lucky and family had enough money for a carriage, but yeah.
And typically, if they did, they would ride side rather
Yes.
than astride.
But the
And-
heel thing still matters though for getting up.
Slightly for getting up, but it matters much less because you aren't in the stirrup.
No.
And often you would have a mounting block for women, which was literally kind of a step stool that they would get on in order to get astride a horse. You'd also get that for young children.
Yeah.
And
we
yes,
also had,
sometimes women have to ride men.
Yeah, they did do that too. I mean, sometimes the odd man played the stool, so.
No, I don't think that was what he meant.
Nope. But I don't doubt that's true.
And I also love the fact that that came from frosted glass because of the Groucho marks. So that immediately made me think, I love my cigar too, but I know when to pull it out. So, anyone have anything else that they want to add in? Because it is about that time.
Fuck the French.
Is there a particular reason that you want to bugger frogs?
Because they're all snobs.
I don't know. I stand by my joke that the fact that the French kind of beat you guys at basketball kind of made me feel that low-key Pepe Le Pew is getting his revenge, you know? Spiritually.
Wait, the French beat the
Beat
Canucks
the
in
American.
basketball?
No.
No, they beat America.
Yeah, but Eeyore's not.
We lost basketball in the Olympics to the French.
Yeah, but Eeyore is Canadian.
Oh, I know. But he doesn't like the French, and I'm giving the French credit because like they've given Pepe Le Pew at least some.
Well, why the hell are you bringing the U.S. into this?
Because of that movie. They eliminated Pepe Le Pew from that movie, and you know, sure enough, you guys lost to the French. I feel like it was predicting something. Sorry, I found that funny, ironic and funny.
Space Jam will never be the same without him.
I know. I hold them accountable. He was my favorite character. I don't care. Like, it's not my fault they can't understand a stinky man joke.
So you're saying that you like the rapist skunk?
No, I'm saying they didn't understand what the joke was. He was a smelly French guy.
Yep. Though I do still love the fact that there was the one cartoon that everyone ignores exists where his scent glands were overridden by the perfume.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly he's getting hunted down by the female cat that he was chasing after because his scent is no longer horrendous.
Yes, that was the problem. He was a smelly Frenchman.
Mm-hmm. So who wants to go next?
No, you know what I'm gonna say? Have fun, because what's the point of living if you're having fun?
Let's go to Jack next.
Shit, I got nothing.
You got Jackbox streams that you do sometimes.
Yeah, don't watch those. Just use your time wisely.
Jen?
Use your time wisely. Don't watch anything that involves me.
Sure, now you tell them when we're ending the show.
Hey, if you started watching Minions in the first place, you've bought and paid for those tickets.
Jen?
I'm pretty much just on Wednesdays with Hammer, One Town Hammer, and Terry Diamantis, and we've been having some fun with that. And so, like, come join us on those nights. And yeah, I hope everyone has a good one. I'm still sad that Lords in the Night is ending.
Mm-hmm. How much longer do they have for that?
Till the 24th. They're gonna end it on Aaliyah's birthday. So
Okay.
yeah.
Adam?
Well, thanks for letting me on the show, and it was
Always good having you.
it was fun chatting with y'all this evening. But I always say, God bless, and I love y'all.
Sounds good. And I'll leave off on... I won't go for my standard. I'll swap out for one of the others. Live in defiance of your memento defectus. And with that, have a good night all. The zoo is closed.
Immolate Teresa Tam.
Boy!
I still feel like